Hello beautiful people, my name is Vendi and today I'm going to be bringing you the My Pleasure book tag. I was tagged to do this by Jason from the channel Old Blues Chapters and Verse, which I'll have linked in the description box below along with the questions of the tag. The tag was created by Steve Partridge from the channel by the same name, and I'll have him linked in the description box below as well. And the idea of this tag is to sort of take prompts based on the pleasures of life. I think it's really important to think about the smaller joys in life, and I think that it's even more important to think about the greater joys in life. So the way that this tag works is by kind of combining the two, and I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So without further ado, let me get into the My Pleasures book tag. Question number 1. Think. Pick a book that made you think hard. And for this, I have to say To Be a Machine by Mark O'Connell. To Be a Machine is a nonfiction journalistic exploration of the sort of cyborg movement in the United States and abroad. As technology becomes more and more ubiquitous in our day-to-day lives, people have begun to feel that organic matter, such as the kind that makes us, is becoming obsolete. So they are trying to bring humanity to the next level of evolution by themselves. They're trying to help evolution out. This book is a little bit frightening in that these things are even possible, and it's a little bit exciting for the same reason. But the reason it makes me think is because I feel that this movement is rooted in fear, this base human fear of becoming irrelevant, becoming one of the previous steps of evolution instead of the pinnacle of it. I just think it's so very human to try to cheat God like that, and for that reason this book made me think a whole lot. Question number 2 is Love, a book that broke or mended your heart, and I chose a book that did both for me. This is How to Make a Wish by Ashley Herring Blake. It is a young adult contemporary novel following Grace, a girl with a problematic family relationship, to say the least, as she comes to terms with her sexuality when she falls in love with a new girl in town. This book doesn't just explore them falling in love and getting to know one another and getting to know themselves. It also deals with everything that could possibly go wrong in a family dynamic and how those things shape who you become as a person and shape how you relate to other people as well. How to Make a Wish is one of the first books where I felt bisexuality was portrayed in a way that was even similar to my experience with it, and the absolutely heart-wrenching problems that both of these girls face with their families and with their mothers specifically is so far from my experience, thank God, but it broke my heart anyway because I know that these experiences are the lived experiences of other people. Heartbroken, heart mended, time and time again with How to Make a Wish. This is due for a reread for me, actually. Question number 3. Eat. Pick a book that nourishes you. And for this, I have to say, any book of fairy tales. This happens to be Angela Carter's book of fairy tales, which I'm reading right now. Fairy tales are authorless stories. There isn't one person that can stake a claim to the creation of a fairy tale, or if there was, their name is lost to history. Across cultures, the same sort of stories pop up time and time again, and I think that that's proof that they are part of this sort of universal human experience. Our fears and our longings and our hopes and our dreams and our greatest wishes are all bound up within the words that create fairy tales, and it nourishes me to know that when I consume fairy tales, whether through listening to them when I was really young or reading them now as an older, wiser, hopefully, person, I am part of this link, this chain of knowledge that has been passed down for generations. I am very much a part of humanity, and that nourishes my soul. Question number 4 is Laugh, and for this you have to name a book that had a sort of comic relief. I have to say the Witchland series, but specifically Wind Witch by Susan Dennard. The Witchland series is a young adult high fantasy series set in a world where elemental magic is not a rarity, but it's not exactly common either. The central storyline follows 2 girls, Safia and Isolde, who, while on the run from very personal problems, figure out that they might be the 2 women destined through their friendship to save the entire world. There's a whole slew of other characters, and they're all very distinct and clever and funny, but my favorite 2, the thing that makes me laugh more than anything in this series, are the interactions between Isolde and a blood witch named Aedwin. Both of these characters are just so strong-willed and opinionated, and every single time they interact and it gets heated and argumentative, I just like, I lose it. I'm like, get a room. You're obviously very, very in love. Just figure that out. I don't know. little realistic human expressions of emotions like love always just make me very, very happy to read about, and they always bring a smile to my face and a laugh bubbling out of my throat. Question number 5 is sex. Pick a book that either contains sexuality or explores it in a way that isn't cringy. Now, I have a lot of issues with the idea that any expression of sex or sexuality should make someone cringe. I know that sometimes it's vulgar or crudely depicted in certain works of literature, but if people are deriving pleasure from it and it's not hurting anybody else, then I mean, I don't really see the need to like cringe at it, you know? It's part of the human experience, and I think it's beautiful. However, that is a soapbox for another time. A book that I read very recently that had sex and women's sexuality in particular as a central focus of it was Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows by Barrie Jaswal. This is a contemporary story following Nikki, a young Punjabi woman who is trying to distance herself from the super traditional roles that everyone seems to be pushing on her, and through a series of events she ends up teaching a literacy class to a bunch of Punjabi widows, and the class evolves into an erotic storytelling class, and it's really great. Women's sexuality is such a taboo, even in this day and age, and it was such a beautiful thing to see women sort of find a connection with each other and become closer and more open with themselves and their wants and their needs through stories. I think that art is an imitation of our life and vice versa. I think each shapes the other to a degree that can't be described. So seeing that interplay of the lives of these widows and really all of the women in Southall, which is the Punjabi community in London, it was beautiful to see them sort of liberate themselves through storytelling. These women who had for so long believed that they were, you know, the outcasts of this society. They don't have husbands anymore, so I mean, what's the point? They can't, you know, feed themselves. Many of them aren't even literate, can't even write their own names, but now they have a voice, and now they can vocalize their wants and their needs. And for some it's memories because they had beautiful relationships, and for some who had terrible marriages, these are the stories that they told themselves to escape, and now they're sharing them with other women. And it's such a powerful story about a community of women who takes charge of their own sexuality. I love it a lot. I think you should read Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows if you haven't already. And finally, question number 7, experience. Pick a book that introduced you to a new subject or shifted the way that you experience the world. And again, the book that I hold up doesn't really matter for this one. It's any book that I haven't read yet but plan to. I chose The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo because I feel like this one is going to monumentally shift the way that I experience the world. Everyone who I trust has told me that it's just a phenomenal book, and it's heartbreaking and beautiful and empowering in all the best ways at the same time. But it's just really a placekeeper for the idea of any book that I haven't read yet, because I feel like no matter what you read, whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether you're meh about it, whether it's middle grade, young adult, nonfiction, fantasy, sci-fi, horror, whatever it is, it's going to change the way that you experience the world. Writers, like all other artists, have a unique ability to edit the reality of modern day by changing the minds and experiences of the people who consume their art. When I said that, you know, art shapes the world and vice versa, the artists who create the art are instrumental in shaping that world. And I think that through books, which are really private things, everyone's experience of a book is a very private matter, right? Unless you're having it read aloud to you. In that case, somebody else's experience is changing the way that you're going to experience it yourself. We all create our own experience framed through the lens that the author decided upon, and then act on it, whether consciously or subconsciously, in our future life. And I just think books are magic. Books are their own special type of magic, and I'm very, very happy to get to experience them. And that is it, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching the My Pleasure book tag. I had a whole lot of fun bringing it to you guys, and I hope you had a lot of fun taking it in. I would like to tag my friend Lou from the channel Books Are a Way of Life, my friend May from May Reads. All of you guys are my friends, actually, so I don't really need to prefix it with that. Maeve from the channel Scribble Maven, Hannah from the channel Hannah Books and Other Things, another Hannah from the channel Snow White and the Seven Shelves, Katie from A Sea of Tomes, Rhiannon from Crescent Moon Reads, and finally Sophie from Sophisticated Books. I feel like 8's a good number. Anyway, I'd be honored if any and all of you were to do this tag, because it brought me a lot of joy, so I hope it brings some joy to you guys as well. And if I didn't tag you but you would like to do this tag, consider yourself tagged. Let's spread the positivity and joy and the absolute pleasure that is the My Pleasure book tag. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, maybe consider subscribing to my channel. Either way though, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.